Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Steelhead Alley Outfitters fishing report with Patrick Robinson. How you doing, Patrick?
Doing all right, Marvin. What are you doing? What are you up to tonight?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble. I'm recording a ton of fishing reports tonight, so you are my next to the last one.
Cool. Well, we'll try and make it short and sweet. Let you get on with it.
Oh, it's all good. I'll be doing this for at least another hour or so, and it's kind of funny. We were talking before we started recording about, depending on where you live in the country, your idea of what spring means is very, very different. So, down here in the Southeast, we've had a warming spell, and we're getting temperatures in the 60s and the 70s. And I took a look at your weather, and it was kind of, cold by our standards, 40s, rainy, some sleet and snow over the next 10 days. But you're like, it was 50 degrees today. People were running around in shorts.
Yeah. Once it hits the 50s here, man, people are like, we are over winter, bring on summer, and they get a little crazy. So I think some people were probably out there running around like they half lost their minds today. But that's all right, man. We'll take the 50 degrees. A week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, we were coming out of the deep freeze, and I think we went from on one stream we had about 6 inches of ice, and within a week's time we were free flowing again. So we are running trips and putting clients on fish and making memories. And so 50 degrees was a very welcome thing today. Absolutely.
And so what are you seeing on the water?
Well, we're seeing lots of fish and lots of anglers. Once the ice goes, that's the sure sign that spring is here. And so people are out and getting it while they can get it, but we are getting decent numbers of fish, and starting next week, we're just about booked full all the way through about mid-April. We've got a few openings here and there that we're still trying to fill, but our calendars are slammed. So keep your eyes on social media, and you'll be seeing what we've got going on out there.
Interesting. And so how are the kind of the techniques changing as things are starting to kind of unlock out of the freezer locker?
Well, right now, most people are probably out there hitting the indicator rig type of presentation. But, as we've said in previous fishing reports, one of the biggest misconceptions is that, the water has to reach a certain temperature before you can swing flies for steelhead. And that's just not the case. So, most people on the average day, most people are going to be fishing in an indie rig, if they're fly fishing. But any day is a good day to swing flies. So whatever you're itching to do, go for it. The stripped fly game can still get it done, but that's going to get even better as the water temperatures start to climb and the fish become a little bit more energetic and willing to chase the strip streamer game. So keep that in your pack and ready to go. Because it's going to be game time here in the next week or two on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there you go. And we were talking before we started recording and wanted to give a shout out to our friends at Norvise for sponsoring the fishing report. And, Patrick, you said you didn't want to play in March Madness.
Well, I've seen some of the guys that were signed up for that, and some of them I feel are just a little out of my league. And so I didn't want to go, if you can't run with the big dogs, what do they say, stay on the porch, and so I figured I'd just sit back and watch the fun unfold and vote on the flies. I've already seen some pretty big hitters get knocked out. It's been an interesting turn of events for the March Madness this year. I think they went with a little different program this time around, and so they're drawing categories for each round of the competition. So the first two were kind of types of forage. So I think the first category was bait fish, and then the next one was crayfish. And this one that they just drew last night is actually a species of fish. So you have to tie a fly specifically for a certain species, and the species that was drawn was redfish. So it was kind of funny seeing some of the people that are in the actual competition reaching out on social media like, oh my gosh, I barely know how to spell redfish. What's a redfish fly look like? They don't have any clue, So it's been kind of fun to sit back and watch what's going on. But yeah, it was I don't know, a little out of my league. You know, I'm one of those guys that enjoys tying for the relaxation, not for the pressure of it. So, yeah, I'm sitting back and watching it all unfold.
Yeah, and folks, if you go to the Norvice Facebook page, that's how you can kind of watch the pairings and vote on your favorite pattern, and that's going to be going on for a little while longer. So you owe it yourself to go over there and check it out. And Patrick, we've got a question for you, and
awesome.
Yeah, pretty timely. I won't share the name because I don't have it. I just have a very illegible Instagram handle. So the question is, what is the best all-around rig, rod, reel, and line for Ohio steelhead in the spring?
Rod, reel, and line. So I guess that question would apply to fall or spring, regardless of which season you're in. But the standard fare setup for most steelhead anglers is going to be if you're here in the area and you're really fishing quite a bit, it's going to be a 10-foot 7-weight. Now we oftentimes get the questions, well, will a 9-foot work? Of course, a 9-foot will work. An 8-foot would work, but the 10-foot gives you a little bit better advantage on making better drifts, better mends, and that kind of thing. It just allows you to high stick better. I've had people ask me over the years, do you like longer rods? And my answer to that has always been, I will always fish the longest rod I can for any situation that I'm fishing. So a number of years ago, TFO came out with, they started, going to some anglers and certain anglers helping them develop rods like Lefty Cray and another guy that was kind of helping them out was a guy by the name of Davey Watton, who's a short Welshman, lives out on the White River in Arkansas, and he's big into fishing the traditional wet fly style, and so he developed a rod with them back then. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a 11-foot 5-weight with a second hand grip that you could screw on and off. So you could make it a single hand or a two-handed rod. Now it wasn't really built to be like a switch rod or anything like that, but I ended up buying that rod, and it is the sweetest little nymphing rod that you could possibly use for trout. And anytime I go somewhere, people are like, man, that's a really long rod. And I've literally had fishing buddies that were with me fishing a run. And they couldn't make the drift that I could make because I had a rod that was sometimes 2.5 feet longer than what they were using. And so my general response to everybody is fish the longest rod you can. If you've got a 9-foot 7-weight, roll with it. But if you're going to be doing a lot of steelheading and a 7-weight rod that's 10 foot long is gonna work for you, then get one. That is the standard fare rod here on the alley. Pair it with whatever reel you feel balances that out. It's pretty self-explanatory as far as size of reel, but some people like their rods to be a little bit oversized on the reel. Some don't, so go with your preference. As far as the line, most guys are rocking a weight forward floating line of some kind. There's a lot of good nymphing lines out there on the market, and that's what most guys are doing. And then they just to that weight forward floating line. I personally run when the rig is completely set and ready to go. I've got about a 12-foot leader that I run. A lot of guys will run shorter than that. They'll run with a anywhere from a 7.5 to a 9.5 foot tapered leader, and then build their flies off that. So they're up around anywhere from say 9 to 11 feet by the time they're done with their rig. So that's pretty much standard fare.
Well, there you go. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us or send them to us on our Facebook or Instagram page. If we use your question, I'll send you some articulate fly swag, and you're going to get into a drawing, which is going to happen here in about a month for some really cool stuff. And Patrick, you want to let folks know what we're going to draw for in about a month?
Yeah. So our buddies over at Norvice have thrown a $100 gift certificate to their web store. into the kitty, and Steelhead Alley Outfitters is going to match that $100 toward any full day guided trip in this spring or summer of 2021. So $200 grab bag is up for grabs.
Yeah. So folks, if you haven't sent in a question, you got to send in a question and have it selected to win. So I encourage you to do that. And before I let you hot, Patrick, even though you're super booked, it's not always like that. And there are cancellations and all that kind of good stuff. Why don't you let folks know where they can find you so they can book you and fish with you guys? Absolutely.
They can find us online at www.steelheadallyoutfitters.com, or they can reach me anytime via email at team, that's T as in Tom, E as in Edward, AM, at steelheadallyoutfitters.com, or they can call me at 888-453-5899.
Well, there you go. And you know, folks, you owe it to yourself to take advantage of this warming weather because the fishing is just going to keep getting better and you need to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Patrick.
Tight lines, Marvin.